I said both of them on the.
So you said I didn't answer.
I said both of them undergo alternation of generation, Abi.
Yes, sir.
Where we have the sporophytes and the gametophytes. But
I said yes, sir.
But in the case of the pteridophytes, in the case of bryophytes, I said the dominant phase in bryophyte is the gametophyte. But reverse is the case now. Here we have the sporophytes as a dominant phase in pteridophytes. Are you jotting that one down?
Yes, sir.
The dominant phase in pteridophyte is sporophyte. Why? Because of the fact that it's a kind of a plant that is more advanced than the bryophyte. And aside that, they have a distinct leaf, true stem, true leaf, and the true roots. And not only that, they also have the ability to conduct water and mineral with the presence of the xylem and phloem in them. They have phloem. It is the function of the phloem that will transport the manufactured food from the point of photosynthesis to all other part of the plant. While it is the function of the xylem to transport water from the root to all part of a plant, for majorly for either for translocation or for even photosynthesis to take place. The process of photosynthesis require water, and not the water that is coming up, but it's the water that is coming from the soil. So it is the function of that xylem now to transport the water from the soil to the point where the water it is being required or needed for the process of photosynthesis. Now, what are we saying is this. Another point is that if you look at the gametophyte phase of bryophyte, I didn't say there's a particular structure, but the gametophyte phase of a pteridophyte has a structure. There's a structure called the structure is called prothallus. It is like art-like structure, in which the gametophyte of pteridophyte is found or is contained. What are we saying here? If you see this structure I'm talking about, it's just like art. We call it prothallus. Okay, and this prothallus even has its own root. It's just like this, and there are something like this, and aside that, there are two things there. What are these things I'm talking about? Okay, let me use this one to clean so that you can see the board very well. So what are these two things I'm talking about? After having this prothallus as outline structure, and it has its own roots. Are we there now? So it has two things
Yes,
like
sir.
this. It has two things like this. So it is inside this one, we have archegonium, and we have antheridium. That is why, this is one of the reasons why the pteridophyte is more advanced than bryophyte. Are we getting it now? Let me come again in that. What I'm saying is, the gametophyte, we have the gametophyte as a vegetative part. But gametophyte in pteridophyte has a structure that look like arts. We call it art-like structure, and this thing even contain this structure even has a root. The root is what we call rhizoid. It has the rhizoid as a root. That is the root. Then we have the antheridium and we have the archegonium contained within that prothallus. So the structure I'm talking about here is prothallus. Are you getting it now? So they have this one in the what? That is prothallus, P-R-O-T-H-A-L-U-S. So that is the prothallus. That is one thing about the pteridophyte. And common example of the pteridophytes are ferns. They are mostly called ferns. And other example of them is we have a club moss. Are you taking it now? C-L-U-B, then M-O-S-S. We have the club moss. We also have the ostill. Ostill is another example of a fern. So that's all about the issue of pteridophyte. Are you getting it now? That is the issue of the pteridophyte. So don't forget some points about them, as they are more advanced than bryophytes, as they have true root, true stem, and true leaf, and as they conduct water and mineral because they are vascular plants. Even we refer to them as the smallest vascular plants. They are smallest tracheophytes because they have xylem and phloem, through which they are able to conduct, or by which they are able to conduct water and the mineral. And another thing is about them is that the sporophyte is the dominant phase in them. And they have an outline structure in which antheridium and archegonium are contained. And what is that? We call it prothallus, containing the archegonium, antheridium, and the prothallus, and the rhizoid as the root. So that's all about that. The next plant we have to look into is the spermatophyte. Are you with me? On the spermatophyte, yes, we do refer to spermatophyte as the most advanced plant. The most advanced plant found in almost every geographical areas of land. They are found everywhere. if you are to see plants around you, so you mostly see the spermatophyte. They are the advanced plant, just like advanced animal. Look at we human being, we are advanced animals, abi. So as we are advanced animal, the most advanced plants too on the land are the spermatophytes. So spermatophytes are the most advanced plants. They also exhibit alternation of generation, and there's one thing about them as well. They exhibit both sexual and asexual reproduction. And aside that, we are looking at the spermatophytes. They have a distinct root, distinct stem, and distinct leaf. That means you can simply identify their roots, their leaves, and the stem. So that is that. And another thing about them is that they are pure vascular plants. They are advanced plants and the pure vascular plants, as they have xylem and phloem. And their own case is not even ended in only just xylem and phloem. So their own xylem and phloem can still serve as a tissue, likewise can still serve as cells in them. And not only that, the vascular bundles in them still contain what we call cambium. You see, these are the group of the plants that they don't just die like that. They are the one that most of them belongs to what we call perennial plants. If you are to classify them based on their life cycle, they are the plant that can live more than 20-50 years. They can even live more than almost 100 years they live. Are we getting it now? So those are the plants we are talking about. That is, and when this particular plant, they are able to they have long life. Why? Because of the presence of the cambium in them. There's what we call cambium. It is this cambium that renew their aging. There's what we call aging. So as they are getting to this age, instead of them to just wither off and die like that, it is the cambium in them that bring about secondary growth and secondary thickening. So for instance now, when they are cut, when these plants are just cut, you see, when you have mango tree in your area, you just cut it like that. If you leave it some months, it's going to regrow on its own. Is that not so?
Yes, sir. Yes,
It's
sir.
because of the active cambium in them. Unlike on some plants that when you just cut them, they won't regrow. There are some grasses when you cut them, they won't grow again. Are you getting it now? It's due to absence of the cambium in them. Likewise, the pteridophytes. Pteridophytes, when they die, they just die. And that is just the final because they lack the cambium. So they have thickening. The secondary growth and the secondary thickening is they're able to exhibit they're able to exhibit this as one of the characteristics due to the fact that they have the cambium in them. So that is all about that. And then these spermatophytes as classes of, or let's say divisions of plants, they can be broadly grouped into two. We can group them into two. That is where we have the gymnosperm and the what? And the what, somebody? Do you know their divisions?
Angiosperm.
Angiosperm. We have a gymnosperm and angiosperm. When we're talking about the gymnosperm, you are very familiar with this. Gymnosperm are a kind of plant that they are flowerless. Instead of them to have flower, they have cone because they produce a naked seed. They produce naked seed. So these are gymnosperm. And common examples of the gymnosperm, they are conifers. They are called conifers. conifers, conifers. Or we refer to them as cycad. That is CICAD. Or we just have like Jimgo. So Jimgo is another example of a gymnosperm. Then the other one is angiosperm. When we're talking about the angiosperm, they are angiospermae because they are able to produce flower. A plant that are able to produce flower. And once they are able to produce flower, most of their fruits they usually produce the naked seed fruit. They produce the naked seed fruit. That is, most of their seeds are found within the fruit. So for this angiosperm are further grouped into two. Basically, the nature of their nucleus. The nature of their cotyledon. They consider the cotyledons. We have what we call one seed leaf and a two seed leaf. The one with one seed leaf or one cotyledonous leaf is what we refer to as a monocot. We have a monocotyledonous plant and dicotyledonous plant. As the name even implies, mono, which means one, cotyledon means seed leaf. So we just use that to qualify such a plant they are. So that means they are monocotyledonous plants and dicotyledonous plant. For the dicotyledonous plant, they are plant with two seed leaf. And not only that, it's just they are different. They still have other differences. What are the differences between them? If you want to identify them, there are morphological ways of identifying them. What do you mean by morphological ways? There are physical ways. When we look at their physical structures, when you look at their structures, you will know they are quite different from each other. If you can see, are you with me, Mujahid?
Yes, sir.
If you look at the leaf of the monocots, they usually have their leaf like this. Let me draw so that you see. The leaf is usually like this. The leaf is just parallel. That is for what? That is for, and if you see the parent plant, they just attach straight to the parent plant. That is one thing about them. And you can see the leaf for the monocot, the leaf is usually narrow, unlike the leaf of the dicot. Look at this leaf. Look at this leaf. So you can see the leaf here, you can see the leaf here. This is the parent plant, this is the parent plant. So if you consider the two leaves morphologically and just ask you the differences, with what you are seeing on chalkboard, you can see that the leaves that are parallel, so that means it is the arrangement of their veins. That means to say they are parallel venation. Are you getting it now? So that is a parallel venation. So if you look at the other one, which is like net, or we call it reticulate, that is a net or reticulate venation. Then, and there is one thing that is all about that anyway. If you still look at the size of the leaf, so leaf here is usually narrow, while the leaf here is usually what? It's usually broad. So that is what we're talking about. Now another thing is that if you see how they even attach to their parent plant, look at the monocot. Monocot just attach to the parent plant directly. Nothing serves as intermediary structure. Nothing to connect them. Can you see it now? But if you look at the other one, which is dicot leaf, the dicot leaf has a kind of a long thread that connects it to what? That connects it to the parent plant. That is what we call petiole. We call this one petiole. So that is another difference between the two. You can see that the leaf here has petiole, while the leaf here does not have petiole. That's all about the leaf. But let's now go to the root. On the issue of the root, how do we differentiate the two? If you see the roots, let's say the plant is just coming like this is the soil level, this is the soil level. So this root is just like this. While the root here, it is coming down, the root just go down like this. Can you see the differences between the two roots? Hope you can see it.
Yes, sir.
If you look at, I know you are familiar with this, I'm just trying to remind you if you are forgotten anyway. If you look at the first root here, the root on top, that is the root of the dicot. This is the monocot. This is the dicot. If you look at the root of the monocot, you can see that the monocot has almost the same size of the root. This root one is not really longer than the other. So that shows that that such type of root is what we call fibrous root system. We call it fibrous root system. But if you look at the other one under that dicot, you can see that we have a particular root that is coming directly from the parent plant, dipping into the soil. But we can have subordinate root that attach to it, and they are not as big as that of the main root. So this type of root is what we call main root system, or we call it tap root system. So the roots between them now, we have the main root system and we have the tap root system. So for the monocot, it is fibrous root system. Sorry, for the monocot, it's fibrous root system, while for the dicot is a tap root system or main root system. That's all about that. Now let's now go to their stem. If you consider the stem, the stem of a dicot is usually bigger and very thick, or let's say thicker than that of the stem of the monocot. Are you getting it now? So we can easily consider that with examples of the two. Look at the mango as a typical example of a mango tree, and a typical example of a dicot, while we consider the maize or grass as another example of that of the monocot. If you look at the two, you can simply see the differences. You can see the difference rather. Then you can see that of the back of for the mango tree, there is a bark. It has a bark. And if you look at that of maize, there is no bark. So that means if you should consider that, you will see that there is something that is responsible for the thickening of these dicot stem, and there's something responsible for how this the monocot stem is slender or somehow smooth. So that is just the case. Now let's now look at their vascular bundle, the nature of their vascular bundle. When we have a transfer section of the stem and the roots of monocot and dicot, if you look at this as a stem, if you look at this as a stem, you will see that the vascular, there's what we call pericycle. Pericycle is one surrounding the entire vascular bundles. And the vascular bundle under monocot here, you can see that they just found scatter within the cytoplasm. They found scatter just within cytoplasm. They are not arranged at all. They just fan scatter, and they are just divided into two. And the inner one, the inner portion, is what we call the xylem, while the one that next to the outside is the phloem. So, and one thing about them is that you can see them scattered within the cytoplasm. But if you consider that of the dicot, for the dicot now, you will see that the fascicular bundles are being arranged on the what? On the having a pit. They have the pit at the center. So you can see the fascicular bundles, and we have an intercalary, or let's say we have a line dividing the fascicular bundles. Now you can see the difference between the two. Eh?
Yes, sir.
So here we have your phloem. Inside we have your xylem. Now between the xylem and phloem there is cambium. Are you getting it now? Unlike this one, we only have xylem. We have xylem here. We have phloem here. So there's nothing like cambium. So the fascicular bundle in both of them are different. The fascicular bundle, the fascicular bundle in monocot is usually scattered, while the fascicular bundles in dicot is usually in ring form. So that is all about that. Do you get that now? So that means you are through with the botanical classification.
Recording stopped.
That means you are through with the botanical classification of plants. Are you there, Mujahid?